A tech unicorn, the first of its kind in Southeast Asia to list in New York. But how will it tackle the intense competition in the region? This week on Managing Asia, I talked to Nick Nash, Group President of Singapore-based internet company Sea. It grabbed attention last October. Sea, short for Southeast Asia, became the first startup from this part of the world to list on the New York Stock Exchange. I met Group President Nick Nash to find out what it was like to travel from Singapore to Wall Street.
It was an extraordinary moment, and I'm sure you'll be able to find some footage of that crazy experience when you're there at the podium, ringing the bell.
All the hard work pays off.
All the hard work pays off, but a new chapter begins.
The company began life as Garena in 2009. An online gaming distributor of popular titles like League of Legends and FIFA Online 3. In 2014, its elusive boss, Forrest Lee, brought in fellow Stanford classmate Nash to help run the show.
I was just about to go back to New York on my next assignment for General Atlantic, and Forrest asked me, do you really want to work in a 1 to 2% GDP growth region, as opposed to greater Southeast Asia, which has 5, 6%, even 8% in a good year? The second thing he said is, do you want to do something that your children are going to be proud of one day?
So you said yes immediately.
Well, there was a third point, though. The third point was, very interestingly, what kind of organization do you want to be in? And he pulled out for me something that we now call the Sea Manifesto. And it's sort of a constitutional document. It's a code of conduct for the entire organization. It has 5 basic principles, one of which is we always stay humble. And I had never heard of an organization before where one of the core axioms of behavior was not just being humble, but staying humble, beginning humble, continuing humble, and always remaining humble.
This tech unicorn, backed by China's Tencent, has one of the sleekest offices we've seen. From its designer reception that rivals multinationals to startup facilities that include sleeping pods. Well, Garena started with gaming, we know, in 2009, then went into the e-payment space with AirPay, and then when you came along as group president, you went into e-commerce with Shopee. Are you trying to be the Tencent of Southeast Asia?
I think we are trying to be the defining internet platform for greater Southeast Asia. And that has elements of Tencent, yes, because if you think about where market capitalization is in the world, particularly emerging markets, internet, there's really 3 big clumps. Tencent is a $400 billion plus market cap company, largely around content and specifically games. Alibaba is comparable in size, largely around marketplace e-commerce. And in the future, perhaps some combination of Tenpay and Alipay will be valued in the hundreds of billions of dollars as well. So if you think of there as being 3 food groups, games, e-commerce, and payments, we felt that we had to be in all 3.
So you are trying to be the Tencent of Southeast Asia?
I think in some ways we're trying to be a synthesis of Tencent, Alibaba, and the payments businesses that both have built. In some ways, call us the Peranakan Tencent and the Peranakan Alibaba.
Sea is backed by Chinese investor Tencent Holdings with a almost 30% stake. What's it like to have such a powerful Chinese investor behind the company?
Well, it's funny. I mean, although Tencent is born in China, or was born in China, it's a very global company in terms of its talent base. Martin Lau, its group president, was a very promising and well-regarded executive at Goldman Sachs. The head of strategy, James Mitchell, likewise comes from Goldman Sachs. So I've never met actually an Asian company with as global an experience base and mindset as Tencent. Tencent's allure to us isn't the fact that it's a Chinese company, isn't even the fact that it's an internet company. It's the fact that it's, I think, the best managed company in Asia. I think we will look back 15 or 20 years from now and think of Tencent circa 2017-18 as kind of the way we thought about GE under Jack Welch, or even maybe in the early Eisner years, Disney, as it was growing so quickly. That's the beauty of having Tencent. It's the judgment, the acumen, the mentorship. Tencent sits on our board. They're never more than a WeChat away from a quick message or a question.
So what are some of the valuable lessons you've learned from Tencent and their journey?
The single most valuable lesson will sound very simple. And the applicability of the lesson isn't in being taught it, it's in adhering to it. Like all important things in life, it's a user focus. Tencent has always focused on their users. If they focus on their users, financial outcomes are a byproduct. They're a report card. of how well the user experience is. Market cap, equity value for the employees and the shareholders is a byproduct of that. Tencent has always told us from the very beginning, put the user first.
I'm sorry, he's the mastermind?
After its milestone listing, Nash says this is just the beginning.
The IPO, first of all, wasn't an exit for anybody. Not a single shareholder sold shares in the IPO, whether internal or third-party financial shareholders. And moreover, the IPO really, in some ways, marks the rechristening of the business from Garena to C and the broader ambitions we have. What fun would life be if everything was done and over? When Francis Fukuyama said that we'd reached the end of history in the 90s, thank goodness he was wrong. History continues and evolves. Our company's history is just beginning. It happens
But in a sea full of other big fish, does it have what it takes to swim ahead of the others? Competition has been brutal in the e-commerce space. Here in Southeast Asia, you have to compete with players like Lazada, Q10, Amazon. You've increased your marketing spend, at your shopping unit, Shopee, but it's led to wider overall losses for the company with no big improvement in revenue growth. Are you prepared to burn more cash, or are you rethinking your strategy?
We never burn cash, Christine. We invest it. So let me draw out the unit economics of Shopee, then you be the judge. It costs us about $4 to $8 to acquire a first-time buyer on Shopee. And that buyer, or active buyers, tend to buy about 3.6 times a month. And the average basket size in the last quarter was about $16. So $4 to $8 up front, the customer spending $60 per month, and marketplace e-commerce typically has, for players like eBay and others around the world, 8 to 12% take rates on the GMV. We're ramping that up slowly. We'll get there eventually. So do the math. If you have just let's call the midpoint, a 10% take rate on $60 of GMV per month, you're getting paid $6 of revenue, but you paid about $6 to acquire the customer. So you're getting paid back in about a month, maybe 2 months. So with unit economics like that, we feel very comfortable and our shareholders feel very enthusiastic about leaning into the business. This is exactly how Alibaba builds its business.
So are you continuing to increase your marketing spend?
We're continuing to increase it in absolute terms, but if you look at it in proportional terms to the size of the business, it's fallen. In the first half of 2016, we spent about 15% of our GMV for Shopee on sales and marketing. In the first half of 2017, a year later, we spent less than 7%. So in proportional terms, it's declining. We chose to spend a little bit more in Q3.
But overall, in the long term, are you sure this marketing spend is going to eventually pay off in a big way?
We are very, very certain that with the unit economics I've described, $4 to $8 up front, $60 a month of spending, and a very good retention of those customers month by month by month, the math makes sense.
And you're confident you have what it takes to be the #1 player in Southeast Asia in e-commerce?
Well, I think if humility is our core virtue, we certainly shouldn't describe it that way. But I would say that we're confident that our customers are happy.
Your biggest rival is Lazada, backed by Alibaba. You have what it takes to take them on?
I think we are doing things quite differently, and the results paint a positive story. Let me start by saying we deeply respect them. Lazada was the pioneer of e-commerce in Southeast Asia. They're not in Taiwan the way we are, but they're in Southeast Asia. And we've hired some people from them over the years. We've learned from them. And in much the same way that America Online kind of prepared America for eventually Google, Amazon, Facebook, Uber, whatever, Twitter, I think Lazada has really prepared Southeast Asia. And Lazada will always thrive as a great business, but their heritage is what's called 1P, which is that inventory model. They've diversified over time. And today, still, they're very male-dominated. So ask me this, or let me ask you this. When was the last time, Christine, you went to Harvey Norman here in Singapore to buy lipstick? Or have you ever gone to Courts to buy a dress? Does your daughter shop for clothing at, let's say, a Fortress in Hong Kong? That's the point. Retail segments between sort of male SKU retailers and more female, broader SKU retailers. And we've chosen the latter path.
So you're going down a female path with Shopee?
We have, and we've done that from the very beginning. It wasn't something we sort of lurched into. From the very beginning, we recognized if we're up against the most well-capitalized companies in the world, like Alibaba, we have to do things a little differently.
So this focus on a female shopper, is it going to make Shopee profitable soon?
I think it will, and it will.
How long will it take?
Well, as a public company, we should be a little reluctant or a little shy about for forecasting
Well, we
numbers
are in a
specifically.
new financial year, 2018. Could it happen this year?
Well, let me say this. The analyst community has forecasted that Shopee gets to break even sometime around 2021. And what we've communicated verbally to folks is that it felt to us probably a year or two pessimistic. So we're here in 18. Let's say 2020, 21. That sort of zone is a nice place to be. That's not too far off.
Stay with us. More with Nick Nash, Group President of C, in just a moment.
Payments is a low barrier to entry business, as you point out correctly, Christine, but a very high barrier to success business.
So is it ultimately a war between Tencent and Alibaba for Southeast Asia? Managing Asia, we'll be right back.
Payments is a low barrier to entry business, as you point out correctly, Christine, but a very high barrier to success business. And the implication of that is that in a scale-oriented business, enterprise like payments, whoever has the use cases wins in payments. So look at China. The two biggest payments companies in China, other than China UnionPay, which was a creation of the banks and the state enterprises, are Tenpay, WeChat Pay, and Alipay.
So with AirPay, are you profitable?
We are at the gross margin level, but we intend to grow the business as a utility. So we think of payments, again, point one, not really per se as a massive profit maker, but as something whose cost should be lowered to make the things you pay for easier. Keep in mind, we make most of our money today in our games platform.
Sure.
Over time, we'll make a very good amount of money, we hope, in our e-commerce business. Just lowering our cost of being paid is itself a source of profitability for us.
Hi, I'm Christine Tan, and thanks for watching Managing Asia on CNBC Live. You can check out more of our great content by clicking on the videos on screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for the very best in feature programming. Thanks for watching.